All right, so some young voices there coming through, concerned and raising issues. And one theme that seems to be recurring is drugs and drugs and drugs. Wunga, nyawope, you name it, it seems to be the flavor. And it's taking away their lives, partly, I guess, because they've got nothing to do, they're available, and they're getting lost in there. What are you doing, Premier, to sort this out?
This is quite a serious problem, not only affecting young people who seem not to know what to do. Take the case of drugs in schools. We have all these young people, they are at school 5 days in a week. They can't claim not to have anything to do because every day you have to get up to go to school. But there are quite a combination of factors here: breakdown of authority in homes, and the need for us to get in and strengthen our authority in schools, but also in the public, creating good models, making sure that young people are inspired by good and positive things, mobilizing them in the first place, young people, to talk to each other. And to create models out of themselves, so that it's not something that gets relegated to old people. So when you talk to young people, they say to you, what else can he say is old? He needs to talk like that. We're enjoying Wunga here. They must know that they must take their lives, they must take responsibility for their lives. They are already young people. You don't become something else when you grow older. And therefore, we want to say to them, here you are, quite a number of you are being wasted because of drugs. What are you yourselves doing? Rather than posing questions to us, but we are also doing some. We have a council here in the province that is looking at measures of dealing with drugs. Police are working very hard. And as you know, we have discovered...
But you're losing this battle, though,
Yes.
Premier. The crime stats have gone up in terms
Yes.
of drug-related crimes. So whatever it is that you're doing now is not working. What are you going to do differently in the next 100 days?
Well, I have an example of somebody who would say to me, when the sun is very hot, and you say, hey, it's hot today, and you say it's better. And you say, is it better? Because there's so much, and then say, what would you say if it is worse than this? So I'm saying, although we could look at drugs having escalated to this level, I don't think ours is to say, hey, really, drug abuse is very high. I think we have to take it where it is, say this is benchmark, we want to drive it down, and we're making efforts to driving it down, and we need everybody's contribution.
So is there specific programs in the Department of Health? Is the MEC of Health here?
MEC for social development,
social
rather.
Development.
She's here.
Okay.
She could
if
speak
she
specifically.
could speak, our kids are disappearing, they're dying, they're getting caught up in these drugs. What are we going to do, MEC, to help them? Because left to their own devices, they're going to destroy themselves. And we've seen this happen all over the world.
Thank you, Peter. As the province, the Premier has said, we have a provincial anti-substance abuse forum, which we take it seriously. The Premier chairs the forum. And we've also got local drug action committees in the local municipalities. The Premier is correct. We've had many successful campaigns. We've taken them to the areas that are most affected: Chatsworth, Wentworth, Umlazi, KwaMashu. And we also have the serious area in Durban, which is called the Wunga. It's Albert Park, but because these people stay there, the Wunga Park people, but we're tackling it together with all the stakeholders. We do it in an integrated fashion as the province. So we're doing it with the municipality, eThekwini municipality. We have a program that is called Operation Kalagabusha. We've taken some of the people from that area to our rehab centers. They are there, they're being happy detoxed, and then they go on programs. After that, we've got programs like the youth academies. So some of them, we take them to the youth academies. We want also to strengthen the aftercare, because that's where the problem is, but we've started with the program. We've had so many arrests, the drug busts that were in Hillcrest, in Durban North, and in Chatsworth. And also in our airport, we thank the police. They've arrested drug mules, so many of them over the
So
few months.
two-pronged approach, fighting crime, the pushing of drugs, and at the same time rehabilitation and aftercare. Okay, all right. Premier, earlier on we heard a youth saying that she drives around at night and she sees 9 to 12-year-olds walking around in the middle of the night. They're not getting an education. How do we make sure these kids, A, stay off the streets, stay in school, and get an education?
Yeah, it's a challenge, Peter, at a social level, that more young people should be attracted this much to living this kind of life. Obviously, is to strengthen these efforts that the MEC is talking about, strengthen other efforts by police, strengthen other efforts by anti-drug organizations, NGOs, and forging a way together. We are working, among other things, people in Diaconia who are also into this program in terms of they are briefed to us, taking people from the streets, housing them. They are completing a building to do more of this work. Obviously, it just means that we just have to rise to the challenge and say more and more work that we need to do in order to overcome the problem.
We've got a couple of minutes before we take another commercial break. I'm going to fire a few questions to you, and I'd like to get quick responses from you and what you're doing about them specifically. Virginia Airport, what's going to happen there? It seems that there's a study that's been done, but the city manager doesn't want to share the details for some reason. What's happening? Is there a future?
2 weeks ago, 2 days ago,
Yeah.
I had a meeting with the mayor and the manager of eThekwini, and today, they have a meeting with the Office of the Premier exactly on that matter. They are preparing for a meeting which might take place in a week or two to put together their idea and our idea at provincial level, so that we come up with one idea. And we seem to be finding each other very well. There's something. They are very exciting ideas. Should we our conversation succeed?
I'm also getting a sense that corruption isn't something that's also a big concern. I hear that if you pay a certain teachers' union 30,000 rand or something like that, you'll get a promotion. You'll become a principal or an inspector. What are we doing about this?
Well, my understanding is that the Minister of Basic Education, Angie Motshekga, has already launched an investigation, and I'm made aware that it also will have something to do with KZN, and all we're going to do is to cooperate with the Minister and make sure we root out such things. I mean, it's really something that we totally reject, and it's unacceptable. You can't buy a position. You get promoted to a position. You apply for a position.
But it's happening though, isn't it, Premier?
Yeah.
All right. So I also hearing, and it's disturbing, that people want to study to become nurses. They even have to pay just to get onto the training program.
Now that will be regrettable, and these are all the things that we need to root out from government systems and programs, taking shortcuts. We need to deal with officials and make sure that they perform their duties the way it should, and shouldn't take bribes. But people themselves, these professionals, should be discouraged from buying positions, because that's going to be a disaster in the long run.
So are you aware of these things that are going on, and what are you able to do? Because it's one thing to say it shouldn't happen, but you've got to track it, you've got to root it out and deal with it. Are you aware that this kind of thing is going on?
Quite a number. Recently, just a month ago, we had what we called a seminar of civil servants, a 2-day seminar, where we're talking to them about what we want in their behavior and their conduct, representing government, in the question of ethics and codes. But in the next 2 weeks or so, I will have a meeting in particular, although it has to do with finance, all the CFOs, all the accounting officer, all the supply chain people, so that we are dealing with conduct and new tendencies that we are seeing developing in government, where people seem to have no ethics and have nothing really to stand on in terms of government systems and so on.
And
so we're fighting these things.
And you're not worried how high this goes up? If there's people that are quite high up, you're going to deal with them?
I'm not working alone, I'm working with MSCs. So obviously if there's something that is wrong is happening in education, is happening in health, is happening in this and that department, it's all our collective duty to really stamp out these things and we don't accept them.
All right, and last question before we take the break. How are you managing your time at the moment? Is it a challenge? You've got a big job in the party and a big job as the Premier. How are you coping with the two? Is one suffering or are you managing both?
Well, the fortunate part of it is that on both sides you have committees, you have collectives in the African National Congress. Sihlezi Galala is the secretary of the ANC in the provinces here. And he takes a lead on organizational programs and with the committee. The same applies to this side. There's a collective of MSCs working very hard. And all I have to do is coordination and sitting here and there. In terms of management, I do see that both are challenging in the sense that there's a lot of work that needs to be done on both. But obviously, we're a party that is running government and want to spend more time on government programs just to make sure that all that we have promised to our people, we are able to deliver while the party also needs to grow and be strong. It's just a question of managing time and days.
All right, okay, we're going to take a quick break. After that, we'll go back to our tables and your tweets as well. Stay with us.